Hey guys, how's it going this morning? Since you stopped by, maybe you can join me. Today we're going to make a cheesecake, but not just any cheesecake. It is a 3-layer carrot cake cheesecake, and I think it is going to be delicious. It's not the first 3-layer cake I've ever made with a cheesecake involved. We did a blueberry cake and a strawberry shortcake a while back. That was just out of this world. And I've kind of wanted a carrot cake, but had a hankering for a cheesecake. Why not throw the two together? I've never made one of these before, so we'll find out how it goes together. It's fairly straightforward though. It's a basic cheesecake with a little bit of cinnamon and vanilla flavor, and our carrot cake that I have a video for, but we're gonna make it again. It won't take long. With a really good cream cheese icing. It's gonna have some walnut and some crumble of the actual carrot cake all on the side of it. We'll put some decoration on the top. I think it's gonna turn out fantastic. Hopefully the video doesn't run too long, but if it does, I'm sorry, but I want you to get the most out of this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Hope you get something out of this video. Check out some of my other ones. If you're returning or a new subscriber, thank you. You have no idea what that means to me, to see our community grow and have people interested in what we're doing here. So that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I will give you all your measurements in tablespoons, teaspoons, cups, along with grams and milliliters. That way everybody can play along no matter where you're at. I think that's it. Like, subscribe, share. Welcome. Hello, I'm Brian. Yeah, that's it. Why don't we head on down to the counter and we'll get started with this cheesecake. Like I said, it won't take long to put together. The hardest part is going to be practicing the patience and the time it takes to bake it and let it cool. So when I get back, we'll be down at the counter and we'll get started on this bad boy. All right, we are down here at the counter, and some things you will need for this particular cheesecake is a recipe. And like I said, I wrote down that this is a cheesecake recipe. It's just a basic cheesecake recipe. I'm going to use my carrot cake recipe from the video I did a couple years back, so that way you'll have it also without having to go back and look at it, to make our cake with. So we got our recipe. You'll need a stand mixer or a hand mixer. I'm using my stand mixer, and if you are, use title attachment. And that's really it. Well, I take that back. You will need a 9-inch springform pan. Now I'm trying something new this time around. We are going to water bath this. Don't freak out. Water baths aren't hard. But in my springform pan, I've got a piece of parchment paper and I've buttered the inside because we're not putting a crust in this. It's just going to be the cheesecake. I've got it sitting in a 10-inch pan that we're going to put in the water bath. If you don't have a 10-inch pan, that's fine. Use the 16-inch wide aluminum foil, which is why I'm using the pan, because I don't have it, and I remember reading this a while back. I want to try it out. And wrap your 9-inch springform. Now, let's say you don't have 16-inch foil. You're probably not going to make a cheesecake again, and all you have is a 12-inch foil. That's fine, but you'll want to put 3 layers on it because you'll have that crease. You know, it won't reach all the way across. So you're going to put one in the middle to begin with and wrap it around. And then you'll put one on each side. So you'll need 3 pieces of 12-inch foil. That way you lessen the chance of water coming up in. And when I put my parchment paper in, I folded it around the edge to try to help keep that to help keep the moisture out. In this case, it won't get in because I'm using a 10-inch pan around it. If you have a 10-inch pan, I'm going to recommend trying it, even though I've never tried it before. So in our mixing bowl, I've got, and I'm preheating my oven to 300 degrees as we speak. In my mixing bowl, I've got 3 blocks, 24 ounces, 673 grams of cream cheese. It's full fat cream cheese, right? You don't want to use the low fat. You need the full fat to help hold this bad boy together. To this, I am going to add 1 cup, 200 grams of sugar, just like such. and 3 tablespoons, 24 grams of flour. Now, if you watch some of my past videos, you may know that that measurement seems off in grams. Once again, it's the difference between spooning in from the container versus spooning into your measuring cup versus just scooping. If you're scooping, that would be 45 grams, but I would try to keep it at 24 grams. And there's that. And I think that's it in there. Yep, cream cheese, sugar, flour. All right, so now we're gonna mix this on low until it's smooth. And it can take 3 to 5 minutes depending on your cream cheese. You want your cream cheese, everything in this is dairy, eggs, sour cream, cream cheese, room temperature. So I'm gonna let this run for 3 to 5 minutes until it's smooth and there's no lumps, and I'm gonna do it on low. If you're using a stand mixer, depending on your mixer, no higher than 2. You don't want air in it. All right, so it's been about 4 or 5 minutes of letting this go. And while you're mixing, you want to stop occasionally and give the bowl a good scrape. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but you want to make sure that you don't have anything stuck on the bottom. Stand mixers, hand mixers, all the same. Anything involving a round bowl will have a dead spot. You know, unless you're doing this by hand, which that would be, you know, you'd need some energy, definitely some strength. But we're gonna give that a quick run through real quick like that, and just to make sure you don't have any big lumps in there. Now, if you've got like little flakes of cream cheese, that's fine. That will more than likely, well, no, I know it will. It's not more than likely. They'll melt. But cream cheese does not melt well. So anything bigger than, I'm going to say, the size of a pea, you want to make sure you don't want anything bigger than that, and that's on the big end. All right, so we got that mixed. The next thing we're going to add to this is a half a cup, 115 grams of sour cream. Like I said, room temperature. Now, if you've got some liquid on there, on your sour cream, like a big puddle of it, because that happens when you let sour cream warm up, just go ahead and pour that off. I mean, it won't hurt if you put it in there, I don't think. It's never hurt me, because like even now, there was a little bit there underneath the sour cream, but you don't want all that liquid in there. And then I've got 2 teaspoons, 4 grams of cinnamon. Just some plain old ground cinnamon. And 1 tablespoon, 15 grams of vanilla extract. And like I've often said, I'm sure a dozen times, it's baker's vanilla. That way you maintain that flavor. And then we're just gonna run this until it's well incorporated. It'll take about a minute or 2, but once again, no speed to it really. We don't want that air to build up inside. All right, so we've got our sour cream and cinnamon and vanilla in there. Now I'm gonna turn this back on, but I'm gonna turn it on low. Just in this case, it's stir, which would be like 1. And I've got 3 large eggs right here. And I'm gonna put these in 1 egg at a time, and I'm gonna let these run until I can't see the yellow anymore, till it's all incorporated. All right, all 3 of our eggs are in, and I can't see them. We're gonna give this one final scrape because we're done with the batter. I mean, it's really that easy. And even at that, I mean, right now we've got a basic cheesecake. If you were to put like a graham cracker crust in that pan instead of a piece of parchment paper, you would have a vanilla and cinnamon cheesecake in its rawest form, so to speak, and you could do all kinds of stuff with just that. Like I said, you put a graham cracker crust with it, you could easily top it with some apples, you know, get an apple pie filling, or, you know, throw some pecans on there, or, you know, the possibilities are really endless. Basically anything that can go with cinnamon would be a good topper for that, and some whipped topping, and you would be in like Flynn. So we'll give this a good scrape real quick. Make sure we don't have any big lumps, which we don't. Make sure we don't have any streaks, which it looks like we don't. Go ahead and get that spatula cleaned off there right quick. Although I don't know why I do that, because I'm just gonna get it dirty again. I'm putting it in the pan. So go ahead and get that out of the way. Move this mixer back real quick so it's out of the way. Beep. And then we will get our springform pan. Now I was reading on a cheesecake recipe that, just real quick, they had used foil inside their pan and brought it up the sides and used a regular cake pan. They didn't even use a springform pan. And they used the foil to pull the cheesecake up with. I opted not to do that just because A, I have a springform pan. B, I wasn't wholeheartedly sold on using 12-inch foil, the smaller foil, to try to do that with. So we're gonna go ahead and get our batter in our springform. And like I said, I've got the parchment paper down underneath there. That way when we pop the sides of the springform, it'll, just be there. So we'll get this in. All right, got our batter in. And we'll just smooth it out. That way it's nice and even. You want it to be even, that way it doesn't dome or anything silly like that, or you have one part that's done, one part that's not, because that'll definitely happen with the cheesecake. Get that spread out good. And this doesn't go all the way to the top of the pan. That's because we don't have any air in it. If we'd have mixed this on high or something like that, we would have had a floofy cheesecake, and this will rise a little as it goes. All right, so we got that like that. Now we're gonna water bath this, and in the oven I already have my roasting pan in here. I use a roasting pan, and I've got it half filled with water. I just know that's how it works out. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me tilt you out there a little bit. Whoop. But right there is the roasting pan. Sorry for the horrible camera work that I'm using. And we will set this in the center of it. I've got it filled with water, about halfway full, and it's about halfway up on that, in this case, 10-inch pan. But you want it about halfway up on your cheesecake if you're using foil. It's okay to be a little higher, you just don't want to be much lower than that. So the purpose of, give me 1 second, we're going to set our timer for 45 minutes and let that go. The purpose of the water bath isn't so much, it is, but it's to ensure a slow bake. Cheesecakes have to bake slow. And in order to bake it slow, the moisture that water is producing will slow it down. Slow down. It's still going to be 300 degrees, but it's going to bake it a lot slower, right? Because you have the moisture that's over top of the cheesecake, making it harder to bake fast and dry out. We're preventing cracking. That's all we're doing. Although in this case, if it does crack, it's okay because we're going to cover it. Sorry, I just realized I'm crooked. There we go. Because we're going to cover it with another with a piece of cake, so you'll never see the top of it. But this is good practice. So what we're going to do is we're going to bake this at 300 degrees, right? Because we set our oven for 300 degrees earlier, for 45 minutes. So when I come back, our 45 minutes will be up, and I'll talk about what to do next. Okay, so our timer just went off. So what we're going to do now is we're going to basically, we turned off our oven, but we're not going to take the cheesecake out. I'm not going to open this door I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna set my timer for 30 minutes and let the timer go with the oven off, door not open. Once that 30 minutes is up, I'll open the door, leave it cracked. I'll just stick a spoon in it and let it shut on the spoon, and I'll set it for another 30 minutes. Once that's done, then we'll take it out of the oven and put it on a cooling rack, and we'll talk about times to do it after that. Okay, we did our 30 minutes with the oven door shut, oven off. Now we've done 30 minutes with the oven door cracked and the oven's still off. Now all we gotta do is we're gonna take the cheesecake out of the oven. And you know, I can already see some benefits to doing the double pan method versus the foil method. And one of them being, I can leave the pan, the water bath pan in the oven, still grab the cheesecake and pull it out. That's actually quite nice. I like that. So there is our cheesecake. And I mean, you notice it's off the sides a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not. Right there, see how it's come off the sides? That means it's been cooling. But what we're gonna do to kind of help that process is I'm gonna take an offset spatula. You could just as easily use a knife. And we'll run it around the edge here, so that way we make sure that it's not sticking at all. Just like that. So now, that looks like I got a little cheesecake on it. Ooh. So now what we're gonna do is, this is where we have to really practice some patience. We're going to let this finish cooling down to room temperature, which should take about a half hour. Ooh, that's really good. Once it's cooled down to room temperature, and here in about 15-20 minutes I'll take it out of that other pan. But once it's cooled down to room temperature here in about an hour, I'm gonna put some plastic wrap over the top of it, down on the cheesecake. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but that's the way I do it. And then I'm gonna stick it in the fridge. That has to stay in the fridge for about 4 to 5 hours. I know that seems like a lifetime, and you're probably right. But at about hour 3 to 4, when that's good and, you know, almost done, we'll go ahead and make those carrot cakes. So when I come back, we'll start making those carrot cakes. Okay, so cheesecake's in the fridge cooling. We're gonna go ahead and get our cake started. So the first thing I did was turn my oven on 350 degrees. And then I went ahead and buttered and floured a couple cake pans. I've got parchment paper on the bottom, that way it doesn't stick to the bottom. We're guaranteed double protection. So we're gonna start with our dry ingredients. I've got 2 cups, 2 tablespoons, 260 grams of just regular old all-purpose flour in here. And then in this little bowl here, I've got 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking soda. I've got 1.5 teaspoons, 6 grams of baking powder. I have a half a gram, 2 teaspoons of salt. And I've got 1.5 teaspoons, 2 grams of ground cinnamon. We're gonna go ahead and throw that in there real quick. Make sure we get it all in. That way we don't lose any of that flavor or leavening. And then we'll just go ahead and get this mixed together right quick. Won't take a second. All right, got that taken care of. There's that. We are good there. Now we can just move on to our wet ingredients. A carrot cake in and of itself isn't hard, especially if you have everything measured out. So after we got that done, the next thing we're gonna do is I've got 4 large eggs, right? Yolks and whites, both right there. And we're gonna put those in our mixer. And we're going to give these just a quick beat so that way we can get them broken, right? You can always pre-bake them or pre-break them before you put them in. You want them at room temperature. To that, we are going to add 1.5 cups, 300 grams of just regular old granulated sugar. The eggs were 200 grams of egg, 300 grams of granulated sugar, and we are going to also add some vanilla. I love vanilla. I put vanilla in everything. But it is 2 teaspoons, 8 grams of vanilla. Go ahead and put that in there, and then we're gonna beat this for about 3 to 5 minutes. We want it to get light and fluffy. All right, so we've got this light and fluffy. I'm gonna show you real quick just because I can. But when you first see your eggs and everything and they're yellow and you got everything in there, it doesn't look anything like that. We were essentially just incorporating a bunch of air like we were making like a meringue, and voila, that's what we did essentially. We just incorporated a bunch of air, which we need. So now we're going to turn this on low, and I've got 1 cup, 250 milliliters of vegetable oil, and you can use any oil. You just want one that's kind of flavorless. You know, you don't want to put like a grapeseed oil in here. And we're just going to mix that in. Just pour it in a little bit, you know, kind of not slow, but don't dump it all in at once. We're going to get that in there, let that run for just 1 second. And then to that, go ahead and shut that off. I have got 8 ounces, which is, yeah, it's just 1 8-ounce can of drained crushed pineapple. I got all the juice off of it. Save the juice, you can drink it or add it to something, you know, like something involving bourbon, or vodka, or, you know, a crushed ice. You know, either way, it'd be good. And then we want to get that incorporated. Give it a good mix for a second. Alright, we got that mixed in real good, broken up, looking good. So, we will go ahead and take our dry mix, and we're gonna pour it in, right? I'm gonna do a little bit at a time there. We'll do half, give that a mix. Now let's dump in the other half while it's mixing. And we're not gonna completely mix this, because we still have 2 ingredients left to put in there. So now that we're almost mixed, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take 2.5 cups, about 340 grams of shredded carrots, and you want to work out, do that by hand. If you don't want to work out, you can buy shredded carrots. I shredded these, and it's about a package worth of, you know, carrots. It's quite a few carrots. I want to say this was 10 medium-sized carrots, yeah, or like 5 large carrots, I guess. So we're going to add that in at any rate. 2.5 cups, 340 grams of carrots. And then I've got, well, there's a little more than a cup of walnuts right here that I have toasted in the oven, 350 degrees, 5 minutes, and then I crushed up. And we're going to put that in, at least a good majority of it. Not all of it, but a good majority of it. And that 1 cup is 100 grams, sorry. And then we're just going to mix this on low and finish getting the dry ingredients in there and get those walnuts and carrots good and mixed. Alright, so we got our batter mixed, right? And I went ahead after I took it off the mixer and put the mixer away. I gave it a good stir, make sure everything was off the bottom and we didn't have any streaks, and we have that carrot look. So the next thing we want to do is, I'm going to use my scale, but we're going to pour these into our pans, and then that way, and I'm using a scale, you want to get them as close to even as possible if you're eyeballing it, because yeah, that way, you know, they bake evenly. That's important. Yeah, that they bake evenly. So we'll get some in that one. Okay, got them both even. 750 grams each is what I got. Now, when it comes to, measuring those out, I don't always, I don't ever write down the gram weight on the recipe because it always seems to vary a little bit every time I make something. Every time. The only exception to that is I know that a cupcake is going to weigh 45 grams no matter what. 45 to 50 depending on the cupcake. And to get them to bake to the proper height. But anyhow, let me get these into the oven real quick and we'll talk about times. There is that. And okay, so got those in the oven. Now, as far as time goes, you're looking at 25 to 30 minutes, depending on your oven, because everybody's oven's a little different. And I'm gonna start at 25. But what we're looking for, we should be able to put a toothpick in it. It should come out, batter free. It's okay to have a little crumb. Am I right? You almost want a little crumb because they're going to continue to bake when you pull them out of the oven and they're sitting in the pan. And if there's no crumb on them, that means they're done, and they might over bake sitting in the pan. So when I come back, we will have them out of the oven. We'll toothpick test them and see what we got and talk about how long to let them cool and all that good stuff. Be right back. Okay, so we went 30 minutes. When I looked at them, that was about 33 minutes. When I looked at them at 25 minutes, they were still a little jiggly in the center, but we're not jiggly anymore, I can see. Yeah, and they look done. Now, when I looked at them at 25 minutes, I'll show you here. We haven't tested them yet, so I still don't know if they're quite done, but when I looked at them at 25 minutes, this right in here still looked very wet, and they were jiggly. So I went ahead and instead of putting them in for 5 minutes, I put them in for 7. So now we'll go ahead and I'll explain why here in a second. And we'll test them. That one turned out good. Just got a little bit of crumb on it. Not a whole lot of, crumb, but some. No batter. That's the important thing. And we'll check this one, maybe. And same thing. No batter, little bit of crumb. We're in good shape. So I said 25 to 30 minutes, but when I reset the timer for 25 minutes, I reset it for 8 minutes. So that gave me 33 minutes total. The reason for that is I opened up the door and had it open for a significant amount of time while I was originally looking at them, and I didn't even stick a toothpick in. I didn't have to. You could tell they were still jiggly. So I made up for the time lost with the door open by adding an extra 3 minutes on top of the 5 minutes more it needed. And they turned out good, right? We are cool, we're out of there, we're baked. So what do we do now? So the next thing we're gonna do with these is we're going to let Abby yell at her, I don't know who she's yelling at, but that's okay. We're going to let those cool in the pans for about 10-15 minutes. I'm gonna lean more towards 10. And then once I get them out of the pan, we'll just let them cool on the rack till they're down to room temperature, and then we can move on to making some icing and ice these bad boys. All right, see you here in a second. Okay, so our cakes are definitely cooled. It's actually the next morning. Busy day yesterday, and I just didn't get back to the cakes. This is the cool thing about those, is it's okay to let the carrot cake sit overnight. The cheesecake is going nowhere covered in the fridge, so it can hold. This carrot cake is so moist that it'll stay moist for about a week. It's ridiculously cool like that. But anyhow, let's get down to the counter and we'll start making some icing to put on this bad boy. Hold on for me just 1 second. All right, so in our bowl, we've got 1 block, 8 ounces of cream cheese, and we've got, which is 242 grams. And then I've got half a cup, 1 stick, 114 grams of butter. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get these creamed up. Now these are softened or room temperature, either one, but you don't want them fresh out of the fridge. All right, we are creamed. Let that run for a couple minutes. It'll depend on how warm your butter and cream cheese are. Mine's been sitting out for a couple hours, so it's good and softened, but yeah, dare I say room temperature. Soften's about a half hour, 45 minutes. Depending on the temperature of your house, or right around 70 degrees. Anything warmer than that would be considered room temperature. So we'll give this a good quick scrape down, like such. All right, and then the next thing we're going to add to this only has 4 ingredients. It's really, cream cheese icing is very, very basic. We're going to add 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla. And we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of salt. And then what we'll do is we'll mix this and get this nice incorporated. All right, we got that nice and incorporated. So we'll go ahead and get some of this stuff out of the way here real quick. Last ingredient, and it's an easy one. Give this another quick run through with the spatula. Oh. Ooh. That way we know we're still on the right path. There is that. Now we only got 1 ingredient left, and it's going to be 4 cups, 500 grams of powdered sugar. And I've got it sitting right off here, right here. Now with powdered sugar, when you're putting it into any cream cheese or any icing, do it a cup at a time. I've even seen some recipes that do a half a cup at a time, but I'll do a half or a whole cup. And we're just gonna run this on low. Couple reasons. A, we don't want to put air into it. B, when you first put the powdered sugar in there, much like flour, if you don't start it on low, you're gonna have a face full of powdered sugar. And we're just gonna repeat this process until all the cream cheese is gone, or all the powdered sugar is gone. All right, so we got our icing is done. All right, there we are. Now, I did add about 2 tablespoons, 2 teaspoons of heavy whipping cream to that, just to loosen it up a little bit. I thought it was a little stiff. Our cakes are moist. I mean, granted, our sides are firm. Now, I also, I don't know if you noticed from a few minutes ago, but I cut the tops off of these. They were level, but I wanted the crumb to mix in with the walnuts that I'm gonna put on the side of this. So now we're down to just assembly and icing, really. And after the initial icing, we can just we can stop there if we wanted to. So we'll go ahead and take our cheesecake, and we're gonna get it set on top of there, and hopefully get it off in a measurable fashion. And we don't have to worry about the tops being perfect by any means, because we're gonna cover them, right? So we go ahead and get our parchment paper off the bottom, like that, and we will go ahead and clean up that side a little. And take you, smooth you. Now, I guess it doesn't really matter if it's smooth or not, because once again, we're gonna ice it. And then we got our second layer right here. We'll go ahead and throw that on there, straighten it up, just like such. And now, oh, you can see it or not, that's such a tall cake, but we're not even, so how do we fix that? Well, I mean, I can sit here and spread this cake out a little bit. That would probably help make sure we're good and even. But we could also just take a knife, which is what I'm gonna do real quick. I'll take a knife and I'll even this out, so that way we're balanced all the way around. It'll make it easier to ice. So hold on for me 1 second. All right, so we got her nice and even all the way around. I just had to take off this little section right there. not a big deal. And quite honestly, I mean, unless you're selling it and you're looking at that, you could probably just leave it the way it is. So all we gotta do now is ice our cake. And I'm gonna take most of this now. You could put a crumb coat on it if you would like. I'm not going to, because what I'm going to do as soon as I get the basic icing, or get the icing on there, the icing doesn't even have to be perfect, because I'm going to take it and I'm going to coat the sides with crushed toasted walnuts and the tops basically that I cut off of here. That's the only reason why I cut them off. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even have cut them off. So you won't really see it. I'll show you the mix as soon as I get done icing this cake, but all we gotta do is just spread it on there nice evenly. Okay, so we got our ice. Easy enough, and realistically you could run it with it just like this. Maybe sprinkle a few walnuts on top, kind of goes with the carrot cake thing. But instead, I have got a bowl here that I have, remember I cut the tops off, so I crumbled them up, and I've got some walnuts in here that I toasted and ran through my food processor, so that way they're nice and finely chopped, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on the side, along the side of it, and maybe a little bit here in the middle. But first I need a glove, only because I don't want to get it all over my hands. Now you could do this with a spoon, just scoop it up and kind of pop it on the side, but I'm going to take handfuls, and if you're so inclined you could even tilt this bad boy up and do it. I'm not that inclined, just because of that. You know, I don't want to lose my cake. I'd much rather make a mess on my counter that I can wipe off than lose the cake. But I'm just going to simply take a handful and put it on there, and in this case I'll just let whatever's extra fall onto the counter, so that way we can get it on the side like that in the icing. After I get this done, get a little bit on the top, I'm going to put it in the fridge for about a half hour. That way it will everything will firm back up, the icing will have a chance to sit and rest for a minute, because it's starting to get soft. It's warm in here, but I want to get this on there while it's soft, so when I come back we'll take a look at a finished product and maybe have a piece. Alright, see you here in a second. Okay guys, I think that turned out quite nice. I got the walnuts and the crumb on the sides, sprinkled a little on top, did some dollops in the center, and some whatever you call those things around the top. I have no idea what they're called, but I've been practicing them. A little harder with a fairly warm icing and cream cheese, but all in all I think that turned out nice, hands down. So now all we have to do is cut us a piece. Alright, got the knife and plate, and I was told that I have to cut the wife a piece also, but let's see how it turned out first. You know, we don't want to serve her a foul piece of anything. That would just be rude. Now I will tell you, because like I said, I let this sit in the fridge, and it turned out to be about an hour. Wasn't initially planning on being that long with it, but I got sidetracked on social media and didn't let it go like the standard 30 minutes. It might even been a little longer than an hour. And I don't think you're going to need a big slice of this. You will want to keep this refrigerated though. Between the icing and the cheesecake that's in the center of this bad boy, we are going to want to make sure we keep this refrigerated. Now we'll get in here. Maybe I'm testing out a new cake holding plate. I don't know if it's going to be my finest cake holding plate, but that's all right. Oh, we lost a little bit of our cake, as always. Someday I'll learn how to serve that first piece, but until then, we will grandeur in the thoughts of I tried to do it right. Let me get the rest of that out of there. There we go. We'll form it so it looks good for pictures. or I'll cut a second slice for pictures. But until then, it held together quite nicely. Woo. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, there you go. So all in all, not too shabby. That's an important part. There is our piece right there. Minus the broken up bottom because I don't know how to cut a cake. I'm telling you, that first piece, if you've never cut a first piece of cake before, which I'm sure you guys have because you're awesome. And you probably do everything way better than me. That first piece is really difficult. Now, this cake is kind of a show-off cake. It's challenging. It takes a minute to make. I think it's going to be well worth it. But this would be something that you would have at a party, take to a party, you know, especially if you're trying to show somebody else up that bakes. You can be like, yeah, their cake's okay, but check this bad boy out. And it's something that can challenge you if you're trying to take it to that next level. The only thing I have left to do that I haven't tried yet, I've seen people make a cake like this, where it's cake, cheesecake cake, but then they put a pie on top and cover it with usually a fondant or a molding chocolate. And I kind of want to try that, just to say I did it. Not that I need that by any means, but let's focus on the task at hand and try this carrot cake cheesecake with cream cheese icing and see how it tastes. That is so good. So good. It is ridiculously good. Okay, so this probably took a total of hour and a half of my time and about 5.5, 6 hours minimum of patience and just waiting for everything to cool down and set. But holy cow, that is awesome. I don't even know how to properly explain how creamy that cheesecake is and perfect. And I'm here to tell you, this is a carrot cake recipe I use here at the house whenever we have carrot cake. So I already knew what it was going to taste like, but the combination of the two, holy moly. If you want to impress your friends, this is definitely the way to go. You know, or your family. Or you're trying to take your baking skills to the next level without being too insane. Because we just made a cheesecake and a regular 2-layer cake and some icing. But the end result is amazing. So that being said, next week, no idea. None at all. For dinner or dessert. I did have some dessert ideas thrown my way. My friend Rob down in Mississippi had just sent me 3 or 4 recipes to try out with desserts. He is a plethora and never-ending resource for just amazing recipes. We've known each other quite a while now. We worked together a few years back and just remained friends ever since. And he is just a great guy. But so we may try one of those, but for dinner, I'm not sure yet. I've got some ideas, but not sure. All the same, give this a try. And if you do, leave me a comment down below, or if you do something similar, let me know. This isn't the first one we've made like this. We have a blueberry one also and a strawberry shortcake one that tastes like the Good Humor ice cream bars, which is out of this world. But this is hands down amazing. So yeah, that being said, I love you. I love you very much. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Tell somebody else you love them and you love them very much. They may need to hear that, for real. They may need to hear that. And it's gonna make them feel good to hear that. It's gonna make you feel good to tell them that. And if you make them one of these carrot cake cheesecakes, that is gonna be hours of conversation. They're gonna know that you worked hard to give them something good. And it's gonna make them feel good. It's gonna make you feel good. Yeah, and this would go great with a cup of coffee. So, till next week, I love you. I'll see you then. Talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.